Today we'll be taking a look at the Eljer Signature Back Outlet toilet, or rear outlet toilet. This is not your average Signature at all, it's back outlet, as you can tell. This toilet was introduced around the mid-1990s, and would be made up until circa 2008, when the original Eljer was discontinued. I am not aware of a second generation of this, so this is probably the only generation. As far as I can tell, these things are extremely rare after all. Besides the fact that this thing is a rear outlet toilet, it really isn't much different from the regular Signatures. So let's take a look at this toilet and see what it has to offer. Design-wise, there really isn't much to talk about. It is pretty similar to the Signature, but it's back outlet. Not much to be said here. The trapway opening is very similar to a first generation Signature, a square opening with a tubed siphon jet towards the middle. What's weird is that the Signature name was only used on the standard height versions of the back outlet Signatures. The 88 versions were actually known as Sherwins, so I will have to cover that separately, as stupid as it sounds. Now let's take a look at a flush. It's pretty much very similar to the Signatures. Yep, pretty unremarkable. Considering this is basically the Signature design, the pulling factor is pretty much the same. It's okay. There are occasions where this thing might trip, but not as common as say something like the 1.6 Madeira or the Kohler High Crest. So it's pretty whatever for what it is, but it's definitely a lot better compared to some other pressurized 1.6 gallon toilets for the time. Performance is also just okay. It's definitely a little bit better compared to some other toilets from the 1.6 gallon era of the 1990s and 2000s, but I've also seen better as well. I noticed that these things perform a little bit worse compared to the 88 versions, which is very weird. But it is what it is, I guess. Now we'll take a look at bowl rinse. While it does have angled rim jets, the bowl rinse is pretty eh. The coverage could be a little bit better, and sometimes the rim jets can be a little bit crooked. It really depends on the quality control, but overall, it's not the worst, but it's also not the best either. And that is the Eljer Signature Back Outlet toilets, basically standard height Eljer Signatures, but back outlet. Yep, that's pretty much it. Like the regular Signatures, it's a painfully average toilet, but it's back outlet. I don't think I really need to add much else compared to that. But let's put this toilet into the grading scale. Let's grade it. The design is virtually the same as the standard height first generation Eljer Signature, but it's back outlet. It's getting the same score of a 5. Quality control is still very in the middle. The biggest issue is the quality of the rim jets, as well as some slight performance issues. Outside that, there really isn't much else, but the quality control definitely could be a lot better. So it's also getting a 5. Considering I don't have to compare it with an 88 version and only just standard height, the consistency is definitely a lot better, so I'm giving it an 8 instead. The trapway is virtually the same except it's back outlet down, so it had to be adjusted for that, but otherwise it's still the same. A decent sized trapway that's 2.8 inches, so I'm giving it a 6. So from here on out, the scores are pretty much going to be the same as the standard height Eljer Signature of the first generation. So you should know how this is going to go. Like for example, the flush. It's very plain, very simplistic, and pretty unremarkable. It's not terrible by any means, but it's just not very interesting. It's just a standard pressurized flush that sometimes swirls, so I'm giving it a 5. The pulling factor for the most part is okay. Compared to some other pressurized toilets around the timeline, it doesn't shred as much compared to something like the 1.6 Madeira, or even something like the Kohler High Crest. It ain't perfect, but it's definitely a little bit better compared to some other pressurized toilets around this timeline. So it's getting a 6. Performance-wise, it's okay. I don't know why this is the case, but the standard height versions perform a little bit worse compared to the 88 versions. I really don't know why that is, but it's something I've definitely noticed. So I'm giving it a 6. Due to the rimjet quality, the bowl rinse really isn't the greatest. It does have angled rim jets, but the quality and application of the rim jets is a bit questionable, especially when it comes to random gaps every now and then. Bowl rinse gets a 5. Considering that the qualities are pretty much in the middle, the survivability is alright. The toilet itself doesn't look to be super great, but it actually lasts a little bit longer than you might expect, so that's why it's getting a 6. Now let's talk about the overall value of this toilet. I really don't know why this is referred to as two different models, with the stand-high versions being the Signature Back Outlet and the 88 versions just being the Sherwin. That I will never understand. But this is basically the first generation Eljer Signature, but back outlet. It's still a pretty painfully average toilet, with most qualities being pretty much in the middle for the most part. The flush and ball runs are pretty unremarkable, the pull and the performance is okay, and that's kind of about it. It's a painfully average toilet similar to the first generation Eljer Signature Floor Mounted toilets. But thankfully, at least the quality didn't really deplete, compared to something like the 1.6 Nilo being basically a worse version of the 1.6 American Standard Madeira, and somehow the Priolo being a worse version of the newer Madeira. Don't ask me how that works, because I don't know. Overall, the value is a 5. The final score of the standard height Eljer Signature Back Outlet toilets is a 57 out of 100. Yep, it's basically the same as the first generation Eljer Signature Floor Mounted toilets, but it's back outlet. It's still very painfully average, and I don't have much else to add. I can at least appreciate the consistency being a little bit better.